Hi guys, welcome to the Improvement Season podcast. It is me, Steve Hall, and on the other end is Pascal Floor. It feels like a while since we've done just an improvement season, but I guess it was only last week that Jess came on and people seem to really enjoy that one. So I'm sure Jess will be back on and you can follow her. Be sure to follow her in her journey. She's also the person that responds to the comments outside of the vlogs. I'll get back to vlog comments over on YouTube, but any kind of podcast comments she will be getting back to for the most part. I think Pascal peeps his head in there sometimes when something pops up that is relevant to you.
I'm trying to avoid the annoying comments. Just because I saw a comment. There was a comment that, I see them now and then, and I'm like, I want to go in there and comment. I think it was on one of the vlogs. They're like, why are you wearing a beanie and training? Oh yeah, I saw that.
And man, when you're cold, it's like great wearing a beanie and then having the rest of you kind of free. I love training like that. And I was like, I want to comment back to him and be like, you don't need to voice every opinion you have. If you think it looks weird, you can kind of keep it to yourself. It's fine.
Absolutely.
But anyway.
I mean, I have so many thoughts about this, but also I keep most of the thoughts to myself because it's simply not worth it. I mean, I'm just expressing my thoughts and my opinion. For what? It doesn't really change anything, does it?
Just helps the algorithm, though. That's the only thing. We should be super controversial. Actually,
that's true.
Being controversial is a double-edged sword for me on social media because
whenever I'm controversial, something about biomechanics and get shit for it.
A little bit. So whenever I'm controversial to the smallest degree, because you know me, Pascal, I'm never these guys can suck dicks. I'm very much try and be nuanced, but if I'm slightly edgy, I always get a bit of anxiety associated with it because I'm like, if people are going to upset people, and I shouldn't care, but I just struggle with it a little bit. But you get more exposure. Definitely helped my following yesterday. I gained a couple of hundred more followers, which was nice. Really? So I did. I definitely see the more controversial the post I do, definitely get a response of more followers, more reach, that sort of thing. But people know, we're never controversial for the sake of it. It's always for a reason. So anyway, Pascal, how are things on your end? Because I think that's probably going to be where the majority of our chat is based, which I think is right. I've had the highlight, or what's it called? The light has been on me for a while.
So just 2 days ago, or 1.5 days ago, I was released out of the hospital. No, yesterday morning. Yeah, no, it is kind of 1.5 days ago. So yesterday morning, I was released from the hospital. Things didn't really go according to plan, unfortunately. So as the audience or the listeners may know, I planned on doing a gyno surgery and also then getting some skin removal or excess skin removal as well alongside that in one procedure. So I went there on Tuesday morning, underwent the first surgery. Things were going according to plan, but then I was released from the hospital, was at home, and then there was kind of fluid buildup in one of my breasts, right? Up to a significant extent. At first, I was just joking about it. I even sent you guys, so Jess, Harry, Ryan, and Steve, a picture of me having very big breasts, and I thought that it's kind of still normal, but then it was just increasing in size and building up some very nasty pressure, and I was just like, fuck, I have to call now. I called in there, and they said I should pack my stuff and get immediately over. The doctor came around, had a look at it, and it was just immediately okay, I need to call my staff. We need to actually do another round here on surgery, later in the evening. Then staff came in, prepared everything, and then they cut me up a second time. And then afterwards, of course, because I was undergoing 2 times surgery in one day, 2 times anesthesia, lost a bunch of blood as well. I was very, very dizzy overall, right? So a couple of hours after then the second surgery, I got out of my bed together with then the help of is it also called a sister?
I don't think so. A nurse?
Yeah. It's a nurse, but I thought that maybe there is even a name called a sister, because in German they are called Schwestern, so sisters. It's a nurse though. So she helped me up. I was going to the toilet. She closed the door behind me. I was standing there because you had like a bunch of stuff, right? The drainage still. And I was just like trying to pee, and then I blacked out, and I bashed my head against the wall while falling down. And it was so crazy because maybe you did you experience that in the past to get unconscious?
I've done almost similar to you. Like I passed out, I was ill, had a hot shower, got out, and then I passed out and I was lying in the bath.
Okay, because I had it twice before, and that was ages ago with the worst sickness I've ever had, and my lung infection that I've also talked about here in the summertime.
Ages ago. It feels like not that long ago.
No, ages. So the lung infection was when I was 16 or so, right?
Oh, I see.
Where I was then, though, talking about that this was the worst sickness I've ever experienced. And there I was actually passing out twice. This time, though, I could already feel that I wasn't feeling great throughout the day. I was always like on the edge of passing out a couple of times, but I was always able to catch myself, right? This time, though, I was standing there and I was gone in a matter of a second, and I didn't even notice that I'm about to pass out. And I was just hearing my head smacking against the wall. Like I was hearing that, but without me seeing anything. And then I was just lying on the floor, and I was lying there, and I was just like, help. No. But the nurse wasn't around, so I needed to drag myself up, and then she was coming. So yeah, it wasn't that fun of a day. Wasn't that I planned it to be like that, but now here we are. Everything is hopefully fixed now, and I'm right now. I said it to you already. A little bit in a post-surgery blues. I'm on pain medication. I'm limited in the things that I can do due to the wounds, and also, of course, because there's an interruption in my typical daily business or routine. And as the listeners also may know, you and I, we strive of just having that typical routine on a daily basis. And now it's completely like cut in half. I'm still able to now get a couple of walks in. I don't know if it's too early, though, that I'm already getting some steps in. But yeah,
probably.
Yeah, probably. I think so. But I'm really trying to listen to my body, though. But I also need to take out the momentum and really force myself and just lying around, even though that it sucks big time and I hate it, to be honest.
Yeah, it sounds like hopefully you're past the worst of it now, and it's all just recovery focused now, because I guess, I don't know, but because it's not like you've had something removed and then you've had like skin removed. It's not like new skin's been grafted on, or it's not like you've been given a new liver or something crazy like that. Yeah. So the recovery is more so just healing the areas that you've got. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll all improve. But it's scary nonetheless. Like, especially being operated on twice in one day. I can't imagine what that must have been like. Especially
because they have to. I mean, I must have lost kind of decent amount of fluids over that day. And the scary thing is just like me passing out, because that could have ended so much worse. I was lucky that I bashed my head against the wall. So I was falling to kind of the left frontal side, right? Like this, instead of like straight down, because I think that if I were to just like fall over straight down with my head just on the ground, I think that the impact would have been much more severe. And who knows, right? Who knows what would have happened in that situation. So this is the scariest part. And also I was quite happy that I took the step of actually calling in there, because I noticed that something isn't right, because I have pictures here, and that is, it was like a water balloon. Like, it was very, very big, very hard. And then also, of course, just purple, everything purple, as if I kind of ruptured my entire pec musculature. Maybe people have seen that when someone is kind of rupturing the pec muscle or straining the pec muscles. This is what it looks like just purple all the way here on the left side. Right side is actually pretty good, but the left side is just like massively fucked. And it's so funny because even all the way down to kind of my hip bones, there's water retention. I can pinch my skin and there's like massive water retention all the way down there.
I guess it's a huge, like we've talked about stress before, and like the first response by the body is like retain water. Yeah. I don't exactly know why, but that's clear as day, like for you, where it's just like the body, like weight training, we get some inflammation, we hold on to some water, but like you've had huge trauma to your upper body there. Like,
yeah.
So does that impact your sleeping at all? Do you sleep on your front normally?
I'm a side sleeper, and I can't sleep on the side because it was not the typical removal of the glands for gynecomastia, because normally they cut open your nipples, right? Or kind of around the nipples, and then they take it out there. But because it was also combined with skin removal, he actually did some cuts here right on the side of my chest, and then went in there, right? Because of that, I can't really sleep on my side, because otherwise I would actually then be on the scar tissue at the moment, and that is something that I should avoid. And right now, the most annoying thing is to wear that vest here, because this is not made for people who are lifting. I can tell you that, because it really cuts into my skin back here. That's why I'm also wearing a compression shirt underneath, so that there is a little bit of concussion there. But cushioning, cushioning, exactly. Because it is so painful on the right side. And I was like, when I was getting up after the second surgery, I was just thinking that they've cut something open in the back of my right side, because I thought like, what is going on there? That is the worst pain of them all. There was nothing. It was just due to the vest that it kind of irritated my skin that much that it now is super painful and super uncomfortable. And yeah, I have to lay on my back for the next week or 2 weeks or so. And that's the most annoying thing. I mean, those small details, those smaller annoyances. I mean, I went through hip surgery in 2016. So I went through much worse, because I wasn't allowed to put any kind of pressure on my left leg for 8 weeks straight. Just walking on crutches, not having anyone by your side, right? Right now, Katie is around. Katie can take care of many things for me. Back then, I was by myself, and I still needed to go to school on those crutches, go to the physio on those crutches, and all that kind of stuff. So it was much worse back then. But right now, it's like I said, it's kind of going through that post-surgery blues, not feeling great, not feeling a little bit depressed, of course. But I think it will get better. And I just hope that the surgery went that well, that there don't need to be any kind of fixes afterwards another time or so.
Yeah, I know it's the short-term pain for that long-term payback, because I know how much you are looking forward to this. And it sounds... I know it could sound a bit negative to people, but I don't think you're really viewing it negative. You're just being very honest. Like, this is how it is, but I chose to do this. And I know, like, in a matter of months, you're going to be like, and especially when you get like a chest pump and you think like, oh, it's going to be, I can't even imagine what that will feel like for you, actually.
Yeah, but it will take a long time before I'm actually there, to be honest. And now it's just getting through it, right? Owning your actions. I made that decision. I could have easily said like, no, it's not worth it for me. I knew the risks going into that. So there's nothing to do about bitching around or being like, this is shitty. Even though it may sound like this, it was an intentional decision of mine, conscious decision of mine. And now, I'm just talking through what I'm going through.
I know there's other people who like, I think there's definitely other people I've spoken to of gyno, but I think they just accumulate it during their like teenage years. They just get like, I don't know, their hormones are slightly off during that period of time. And I don't know what the percentage must be, but there must be such a small percentage of males who just end up getting gyno and it just never goes and they just live with it for life. And so I'm sure there's someone listening who is like, I don't know, they're like, oh, maybe they didn't even contemplate getting surgery or what have you. So hearing you go through this, sharing your experience, your thoughts, why you got it, what you're looking forward to getting out of it, I think it's going to be really valuable to them, because people know I had gyno for a short period of time. Hopefully people know. Yeah. And I managed to get rid of it because mine was a very weird situation. Yeah. And mine went away, but I had it for like multiple months, and it was not like, mine was sore, tender, and also just the appearance, it hits your confidence. You don't want to wear, you want to wear t-shirts that doesn't show it, all this stuff. So, and like I can remember, people might know Cameron from the vlogs now, my best friend, and he was not being, we were quite young at the time, but he would like call me like bitch tits. He'd like pinch my nipples and twist them and stuff. I don't think he really understood how much that was hurting at that young age. But once you've had it for years, I can only imagine the impact.
Yeah, no, and the last time that I talked about it, where I was also then transparent that I'm going through surgery then, or about to have surgery, a couple of people even reached out to me via Instagram, because I said there are 100% a decent amount of people out there who are dealing with that, but who are not talking about it, because you hardly ever hear anyone talking about it, because it is such an intimate thing. And I think that there's a massive misconception around it as well in the bodybuilding realm, that everyone just thinks that this is something that is or can only be caused by steroids. And there's such a misconception and misinformation around that. And then, of course, many people aren't willing to talk about it or happy to talk about it, right? Because otherwise they feel the need to explain themselves, right? And or they are maybe being put into a light that is unjustified, right? And just knowing or just informing yourself just a little bit goes a long way. Because, I mean, just from my experience, also that you and I, we both had it, right? And you, due to your injury, and due to then the hormonal imbalances due to that, and I, because I was a freaking fat kid, I was late in puberty, right? And these are like hormonal circumstances that are then not productive for then developing male patterns, that something like this can manifest. It's the same also with my loose skin and the stretch marks, for example. Some people, they never get stretch marks, and they were way heavier than I was, way more overweight, and you can't really see that. And I was one of the unfortunate ones who actually ended up with stretch marks, and due to that, the loose skin is never going away, right? It's a genetic trait as well. You can be lucky, you can be unlucky.
No, absolutely. I think that's so important for people to realize, like, you can be so short-sighted with some of these things, and I think it's unfortunate, and I'm sure I've done it before as well. But when someone is hurting inside, and when it's like I don't know, someone's clearly in like mental or physical pain, like, it's not something to tease or to like to make short of as well, because it is something that impacts you every single day. So I'm just excited for the recovery period for you, and when you get back into the gym, and I mean, you're going to be resensitized, no doubt.
And this also plays tricks on me at the moment, of course, right? Because you immediately fall back to that way of thinking of like, oh shit, now I can't really train my upper body for the next maybe 4 weeks or so, maybe 6 weeks. Depends on the situation and how well the recovery is going. And then immediately you're thinking like, oh, I'm going to lose it all, right? But I also know better in that situation, because back then I wasn't able to train my lower body as well. And I'm now, I mean, 1 year later, I was squatting more than ever before and all that kind of stuff, right? So it will come back super quickly. And especially for me, I wanted to focus on the upper body anyway. So this just is another reason where I'm then distributing a little bit more love and attention towards the upper body.
Hi guys, Steve here. Just wanted to take a moment of your time to remind you of the Revive Stronger member site. Inside you'll find a thriving forum, a growing exercise library, presentations, research reviews, and courses. If you want to get involved, sign up via the description.
I guess the cool thing is, it's times like this, it's like when you're forced away from the gym and stuff, you get to really see the science in practice, like the muscle memory and everything. We have all the data and the science, but you're never gonna. We love training, so you're not going to take time off, extended time off, unless you're forced to. And the good news is, I think, particularly in your situation, you have family, you have things to keep you busy this time round. Whereas I can definitely see it being a harder thing, and maybe you wouldn't have chosen to do it if you were on your own. Whereas you have the support of your loved ones, you have things you can invest your time into to keep you productive, which I'm really pleased you have. I guess maybe also along with sleep, like Tony and Hugo, you have to be a bit careful with, and they have to be careful with you as well.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate because Tony wanted to go to that. I'm carrying him here to in the morning here today it was, and I needed to say no. And I think it's very hard to understand for him at his age. He was already saying like, "Warum Brüste?" So why breasts? Why breasts? And he of course didn't know what I'm going through and why I did the things that I did now. That I can't really carry him for the next couple of weeks. And these are things, of course, that impact you, but everything is kind of temporary and short term for hopefully a long term satisfaction.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if there's anything else we need to talk about on that front. When you're allowed to like go in and train lower body, like can you go in and do some leg extension, leg curls in like a number of weeks?
So I haven't asked because this is where I'm going just really off by feel.
Okay.
And I know this may sound weird to some listeners, but it's more like I'm really trying to be rational here, and I'm really trying to be like an adult of like making no irresponsible decisions where it's like that I'm going to regret it afterwards. I want this to heal and recover as best as it can, and I'd rather take another week more off and away from the gym than rushing things and making matters worse. So if after like 2 weeks of a layoff, I'm able to go back in, do a little bit of a light session for the lower body, then that's something that I'm going to do. And if that's not possible, then I'm just like extending it by another week or so and trying it another time, right? And the same goes for other body parts as well.
Yeah, you can kind of go in. To me, it reminds me of something like the exertion headache, where you can feel it coming on, so you can kind of probably feel it out, and you're like you can either be like, oh, actually, there's nothing going on my upper body. I can take it to the house with leg curls, whatever. Yeah. Or if you start and you're like, if I start taking it too close to failure, I have to grip and like use my upper body a little bit. Yeah. I'll just go like 3-4 RAR and do many sets or something. I can totally see that.
Yeah, I think that the biggest issue will be those scars that I'm having right now. So I don't want to put them into a stretch position or so. And I want to give them plenty of time to actually then be kind of healed up enough so that I'm not rupturing that once again. Yeah. And once I have that, I think that I should be fine, because my chests in it for itself, they don't hurt at all. It's just really just the scar tissue at the moment. I think that I just need to be careful not to overly stretch that body part, give it a little bit of time. And then I could imagine that after like 2 weeks, I should be good to actually do some isolated lower body stuff where it's really just isolated, right? Not just like you're in a leg press, you're holding on with all of your strength to the machine itself, because as you may know, your pecs are then also kind of pumped as well when you're just like pulling yourself into the seat. It's more like sitting there easily, maybe even just like putting your arms across your body so that you can't really use it at all. And you're just maybe doing one leg at a time, then isolating things as much as you can, working with something like slower eccentrics, maybe even blood flow restrictions, something like that.
Yeah. Cool. No, that sounds really good. Will you be able to, I don't know what your plans are for Christmas, but last year you cooked, right?
Yeah.
And I imagine you wanted to cook this year, but is that going to be a go?
Yeah. So I bought everything. The goose is right now freezing up or unfreezing down in the kitchen sink. But Katie needs to take care of that because I'm not allowed to carry anything that is heavier than 5 kilograms at the moment. The goose is only 4.8 kilograms, so I could theoretically speaking, do that, but I will still help her out just a little bit. As long as it's not intense, as long as I'm not moving around like drastically, I think I should be fine. Yeah. So
very cool.
She needs
At
to
least
take
you
care
can
of
be
it
involved.
under my guidance. So kind of I'm the kitchen chef and I'm guiding her.
And then for the listeners, so they know you can't really train at the moment. And so you're eating at maintenance, I assume, in and around maintenance.
Yeah. I'm still...
You're not weighing yourself, are you, at the moment? Or
No,
you might be, but
no,
it's almost pointless.
It's absolutely pointless. I could feel how much additional fluid I was carrying or still am carrying. And just like pinching the skin here on the left side. Man, it's like your edema around the ankles. It's just so much water. And then the entire left side is like that, where it's like pointless to weigh myself at the moment. Additionally, I know that I tend to hold on to a lot of water whenever I'm on pain medication. So it's just wrong data that doesn't really add anything beneficial to the current situation. It would probably even more so stress me out, because I would then think like, oh shit, I'm moving now less. Well, I'm trying to at least keep my activity levels on par when it comes to like walking around. So that's why I keep my caloric intake the same. Even if I were to end up being like 100, 200 calories in a surplus, I think it's still better to be like that rather than in a caloric deficit. Because those, I don't know what it is, a couple of grams of fat that you may then accumulate over that period of time can easily be lost again. Whereas when you are then ending up being in a caloric deficit, you're causing the body to go through those negative adaptations, and you're probably not helping in aiding the recovery process. That's why I'm still eating at around 2,200 calories, trying now to still keep my activity level up in terms of just going out on walks. And yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. And I'm not stressing overly about it, but this is also, once again, something that we've talked about so often already. This is why it's so beneficial to know yourself and know your caloric intake and all that kind of stuff, because you can make very, very good and informed decisions in a situation like this. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of something like flexible eating or dieting, because right now, due to the pain medication and due to just going through pain and all that kind of stuff, I'm not really hungry. Like, especially yesterday, I could have easily gone the entire day without eating. And I'm not kidding. Because it's just like, I don't know whether it's such a severe stress response that the body isn't sending out any kind of hunger signals at the moment. And I'm actually quite stuffed at the moment. So I have to kind of force feed myself. Not in a stressful way, but more so be on it so that I don't end up in a severe caloric deficit. And that's, again, one of the pros of knowing yourself, knowing your caloric intake, being able to make those decisions as well.
I guess you meant, when you said flexible dieting, you meant intuitive eating at that time?
Yeah, intuitive eating.
I was like working it through, I was like, sounds like intuitive.
No,
which I agree.
Sorry, yeah, intuitive eating. That's what I was referring to. It only
works in certain scenarios, and it's kind of, to me, it's similar to when you're overreaching. Sometimes people find in that week before deload, they just have no appetite, and it's just like a stress response, which I assume is a stress response. And it's similar to you, it's like the body's just like, Pascal, we just want to recover. Like, we don't want to focus energy towards digestion, anything here. So yeah, it's good because, like you said, if you weren't keeping your protein high, if you were even eating in a deficit, like, your body needs reserves. I think there might be even some studies, I just remember it coming up at one point, where if you're injured, you burn a certain number more calories, like, just because the body's like, it's working to repair stuff. Yeah. So it makes sense completely not to be, like, if anything, in a slight surplus.
Yeah, and also this study with couples who were fighting and still recovering, I think, from an injury or so. When they are then in a stressful situation, it took them, I can't recall the exact numbers, like 60% longer to recover from a surgery or an injury. And I want to put as little stress on my system at the moment as possible. While it may sound contradictory to some, if I'm then saying like, okay, I'm not hungry, but I'm force feeding myself, it's once again not in the sense of like that I'm stuffing myself or that I'm causing a high stress response, I'm still then keeping the portion size, so the volume of the food, very low, just trying to make sure to get the calories in. Right? And then I'm falling back to highly palatable things in order to just get the calories in without, I don't know, feeling overly stuffed or so, right? It's just like, I even had a protein bar, which I didn't have in a very, very long time.
What did you have?
The Yam Bam. Do you know those?
No.
They're actually pretty high in calories. Luckily I took them with me to then the second time on surgery because I had...
This is why protein bars are perfect for such a thing.
Because I had no protein there. I wasn't planned in and getting food there because no one had it on their radar that I was actually coming in and staying there overnight. And I was lucky enough that I was prepared enough to take some food with me. I had still that protein bar sitting at home, took it with me, took some rice cakes with me, and I was able then to have something to eat there, which was good.
I love that you did that because, I don't know, it's just, those are the sort of habits that I try and get my clients who really want to kind of eke out every little bit of result to get into. Yeah. Where for me, it's like if I go to like a wedding and it's like a full day event, it's like I'm putting protein bars in my pockets to keep my protein high. And like to some people, they just won't think about it like, oh, I missed my protein. And if those things sort of accumulate over time. So I love that you took that with you just to be like, yeah, I've got this. It's like, just in case.
Yeah. And
it's just a great example of
totally
the mindset you have.
Totally. And it's actually a very, very easy task. It didn't take me longer than 1 minute to actually pack those things into my bag. So because I was calling there, Katie just came home with the kids and I was saying like, Katie, we have to pack our stuff. We have to go to the hospital, right? And then I was actually just packing all the necessary things into my backpack. I was packing, once again, some rice cakes in there, took a sachet with me of like whey shake, just like a test product, because I thought like, all right, I don't know for how long I will stay there, so I better take a little bit of protein with me. So I took that, took a protein bar with me, took even, took even a pack of quark with me, just in case I'm staying there for, I don't know, the next 2 days or so. Didn't take up too much time, didn't take up too much space, and this way I was prepared. Right? And this way, nothing was getting in my way in that kind of sense. And it doesn't really sound like a big deal for many people of like, what if it only been 1 day? Yeah, but if it's happening more on a frequent basis, right, then it does make a difference, or can at least make a difference. And I think that consistency goes a long way, and especially during those times where you still have a little bit control over the situation, then take the control, right? Because it could have easily ended up like this, that after the first surgery, that they said like, okay, you need to stay here. All right. I wasn't in the most controlled situation, but even then I would have found a way that Katie is actually bringing me some stuff.
I completely agree. I think, it is easy to just poo-poo it and be like, oh, why are you stressing about it? It's like surgery. It's like a unique situation, but it's like, why not though?
Yeah.
It was minimal. Like it was basically no effort, and you felt better for doing it versus not doing it. Why would you break that habit and that consistency just for the sake of, it's, I don't know, excuse to go off plan and just, I don't know, eat whatever they had there or anything like that. So yeah, it's, I don't know, we're just driven that way. Like I would be exactly the same.
Yeah, maybe it's also because we've been doing that for such a long time that it's just ingrained. Yeah. But at the same time, it's exactly like you said. Why not? So I honestly have a hard time seeing a good reason why you can't take care of it. I can hear the argument of someone saying like, okay, why would you stress about it? And I'm just like, why wouldn't you? It doesn't really take a lot. If there's no
stress as well.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really take a lot of time. It isn't like I was forced to actually go to the supermarket before that, pick stuff up, and then go to do the second surgery. All right. I could see that this is then a different situation, but I had these things at home. It was just like, I was prepared. That's the thing. I think that too many people are unprepared for certain situations. Also when it comes to social events or I don't know, they needed to do some extra hours at work, maybe always have something like a protein bar in your at your desk, or have like a little bit of whey protein lying around, because it's so easy. And this way you are prepared to some extent, and you're not breaking kind of your streak.
No, I'm completely with you there. The little things add up over the long term to count for something significant. And it's not necessarily your unique situation. It's just there's so many situations like that where people, like you said, social situations where they're like, oh, I thought I'd just be out a couple of hours. But if they think about it, it could easily have been 6 hours they're out. Therefore, just put one in your pocket just in case. Because it's like, why wouldn't you do that? Because there's no extra effort or stress. I don't know if there's anything else I had particularly to dig into surrounding it. I think hopefully people have a good awareness of kind of what you did, why you did it, what the expectation is recovery-wise, and how you're managing all of that.
Yeah.
And so it's just a case of seeing that all through. We're going to have to start collecting some questions for the improvement season again, aren't we?
No, but in all honesty, just to wrap it up here, I think that this is what the improvement season is all about, right? We've been saying this since years that by now, transparency, and also just like sharing our journey. I think now looking back a couple of years and then also seeing how we got here, I think it may be refreshing also to people every single time that we are talking openly about these things, because it would be so easy to just keep it to ourselves and be like, pretend as if everything is perfect and fine and we're just doing amazing stuff all the time, or just be transparent about it and maybe adding some value in that kind of regard to people who are listening.
For sure. I do have some updates I could go on to, I guess.
Yes, I wanted to ask, how are you, Steve? No breast surgery on your end?
No, although it's really funny. I'm enjoying where the fat's coming on. Like, I already feel like my chest is so much bigger. I'm like, screw these striations. I'm liking this fat that's on my chest that just makes me look like I'm more muscular.
I already told you via Instagram, people hate the way that you look after the post show because you have such a favorable body fat distribution.
It really seems to have come on. It comes onto my face. Obviously, people will be able to see that if they've been watching the improvement season. You've probably seen Steve's face is kind of like come on. But then it also comes on to, like, clearly when you look at the photos, it's like if you're swiping through, you'd be like, oh, you don't look much different. And then you swipe to the rear ones, you're like, okay, your back looks softer, glutes, hamstrings, they're completely covered up again. That's where it's all mostly come on. And then some onto like my chest and shoulders. My kind of midsection got quite soft quickly, and then it kind of leveled out. So I think it's kind of at that point where it's, because I stayed quite fairly lean through that.
Man, it's still looking better than me, and I haven't regained a lot of weight. I mean,
no. So yeah, I'm now 10 pounds. This morning I was 10 pounds above peak stage condition, so fully glycogen replenished. Because I think some people talk about weight above above like competition, and some people just talk about their like most depleted. Other people talk about stage weight. So I always refer to stage weight. So I'm truly like 10 pounds up as of today. So just over a month post show. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And I'm feeling a bit better today after a bit of a better night's sleep and kind of recovered from this cold, which I don't think is COVID. I haven't had a PCR to confirm that, but I've had kind of done lateral flows and stuff. It just seems like everyone in London seems to be getting it anyway. But I guess the biggest news is we have the keys to our house.
Yes.
So we managed to visit that last weekend, and it was better than I remember, actually. So I'm super excited to kind of make that a home like you have, and kind of like you probably did with your office. I want to like try and make it as good as possible, make use of the space as well as possible, get like good shelving units like you. So any tips you have, Pascal, and anyone else has, I'm definitely going to Google to find like what should I be doing like for all that sort of thing. But want to get a carpet relayed, everything.
My tip is hire some professionals and don't save money, because you can make it tax deductible anyway. So you better make sure that it's properly done, and you save time, because why shouldn't you if you can make it tax deductible?
I agree. I'm not a handyman, so it's all being outsourced, that sort of stuff. So that was really nice. Unfortunately, I don't know if I've said it on here. I must have, but the lifts are still broken. They should be up and running tomorrow. That will have been 6 weeks they've been broken for.
I thought they were running at some point.
They got fixed for less than 24 hours. Yeah, they broke.
Nice. How is that even possible?
They basically hadn't fixed. They put a Band-Aid on it, essentially, and they hadn't solved the kind of core issue. So they should be solving that today. And therefore, at least they're fixed for Christmas, which would be nice. Having have to go up 18 flights of stairs 5 times a day, which is just horrendous. So yeah, that'll be nice once they're fixed, and then we can book in the movers. We can actually get out of this place, but it looks like we're going to be in here for a couple of weeks into January at least. So that means training at the gym for a bit longer and not Yorkies. So I'm very excited to make that a home gym. And then that also impacted Christmas, because we're just umming and ahhing. Me and Charlotte didn't plan kind of to take time off work. So I'm working Friday, so Christmas Eve tomorrow, and then Monday as well, I'm working. So we can't really leave over the weekend to family. Yeah. So we're actually tomorrow, I don't know if I think I've told you about Duck and Waffle before, Pascal, which is like in the Heron Tower. It's like up in the sky, and it's near the Gherkin, and you have cool views. We've booked Christmas dinner actually there. Nice. So we're just like, fuck it. We're in London. Let's like do something different. At least if we're gonna be on our own, let's do something that we wouldn't be able to do with other people. So it's got like a 3-course meal kind of in there. So yeah, it's pretty fancy. It's going to be quite fun and unique. It's going to be a unique experience for Christmas Day, and then Boxing Day, then back to work on the Monday, and then I'm saving, kind of taking days off for when we need to move. Yeah, because like you need a bit of time to be able to get your bearings and get everything out of boxes and packed and what have you.
That's also what I did, if you recall. I took a week holiday because otherwise it's just a lot to handle at the same time. And moving houses is not just like, okay, I just pack, 3-4 boxes. It is a lot of work, actually.
Hey, Pascal here. I just quickly wanted to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we put a huge emphasis on the personal aspect of our coaching. And if you want to take your physique and knowledge to the next level, hit the link in the description below.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of boxes to move. Yeah. But I think you got movers, right? So you let them do a lot of the... Yeah, we're doing the same.
Afterwards was like, So I was regretting that I never really moved like this before. It could, of course, be due to finances when you're a student or so, and you simply don't have the money to actually afford it. But I can tell you this is the best way of moving houses, getting someone else and doing that. Because I do remember the time when you then asked around like friends and family of like being able to help, and most of the people, they don't really want to help. There's always like this one or the two people who are then offering that help, but they also don't want to be there as well. So especially when you're getting older, no one really wants to do this.
Yeah, and it's just, I'm just super happy to let them do it, to be honest. Yeah. Just pay them and then they can sort it, and hopefully it's not too stressful.
Yeah, and it's also insured then.
Yeah, and we're going from like a flat into a house, so it's less stuff, I would presume, at least. The house isn't huge, but it feels so much bigger because it's like stairs and it's 3 floors like yours. The loft's converted. It made me so happy to go there and see it all. It's kind of weird though, knowing it's there and we're here, and there's not like, I don't know, it's just empty. Like, it feels so weird that people are walking past our house. And
so unfortunate though that everything kind of is now like that just due to the elevator. Yeah,
I know. It seems ridiculous, but until you experience it, you kind of get it as soon as you've done it. Like some guy, our dishwasher was broken, so he just had like a backpack, and he came to the top all through the stairs. He was like, I am absolutely shattered. I was like, yeah, man, I got 200 kilos worth of weights here. There's no way I'm taking those down 18 flights of stairs. It's just not going to happen. They can't get anyone to move into the flat either, because no one's moving into a flat needing to go up 18 flights, like with beds and everything.
Yeah.
These are unfurnished flats, so
it's crazy
just
that this isn't or hasn't the highest priority of like that needs to be fixed immediately. Also due to, I don't know, if there are handicapped people living in your apartment, not in your apartment, but in your building, then what the fuck are they supposed to be doing at the moment?
A paramedic had to go up the stairs because someone has a heart condition on like the 6th floor.
Holy
it's
shit.
just like stuff like that. That's bad. So
it is.
There's people with kids. I see them almost every day. They're on like the 10th floor. It's just like, man, they're carrying their kids down. It's just,
shit. So not younger kids who can walk by themselves?
They can, but they're of that age where if they're a bit tired, then you're going to carry them.
Otherwise, I would have said like, hey, that is a very, very good prevention of the kids not getting diabetes because they are overweight or so.
Yeah, actually, I don't know how much energy I'm expending doing it, but man, I prefer to just be taking the flipping elevator or whatever, lift, whatever we call it nowadays. So that's where we're at. Don't think I have anything else to particularly update training wise. I think it just feels like it's just like off-season training, but I think it's getting like I'm going to start reviewing where my best off-season numbers were, especially on that hack squat, straight leg deadlifts. I don't think I ever went over like 160, 165 kilos, I think was my max.
It is
I just did
very strong though, must be said.
Yeah, I just did 155 for 10 today at 1 RAR. So I'm like, man, I'm going to do 160 for 10 next week. And I'm lighter than I hit those previous maxes. So I'm already in territory where I'm hitting kind of all-time PRs, which is so exciting to think about. That, I mean, that indicates kind of muscle growth. So I feel like I'm just super enjoying it. And I bet you're going to have that same buzz once you can get in there. And
hopefully
it's going to last you some time. But it's definitely made me consider it kind of keeps the fire lit a little bit when you compete. Like, it's just not that I'm ever complacent and not to a large degree at least, but there's something about competing more regularly where you're just like, I need to make the most out of this time. So at the moment, I'm still like, maybe 2023 to compete, but I don't know. I want to compete as a team. I want to make sure everyone else feels kind of ready and able to do that season. But something about having that in mind is like, I need to make sure I recover nice and quickly so I don't spend extended time there for any reason, make the most out of every single session, and just, continue to love bodybuilding.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's great to hear that you are already making that much of a stride forward now in the off season. And once again, your numbers are actually quite impressive because, I mean, lifting with your form and technique and doing like 155 for 10 on SLELs, that is actually quite some big numbers.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I don't know how I ever did more than 2 sets on like a straight leg deadlift.
Yeah.
I'm just brutally wrecked after 2 sets. I think it's just when you get to a certain level of strength with decent technique. Like
Not only
said.
that, I think it's also a little bit more responsibility or kind of more rational thinking because I do remember with my eyesight and all that kind of stuff, I was doing so much and the form was already good. And I was just like, beating myself into the ground basically because I thought like, I'm able to recover from that. But was I really? No, because my body clearly gave me the signals that that wasn't the case. I don't, what, I mean, if you can't really get it out of 2 sets, I think, I don't know. I'm starting to question it then. Right? Especially, of course, it's always dependent on how strong you are. Someone who's only able to lift like 100 kilograms on the SLDLs is probably then able to do 1 more set or so. But someone with your training experience, with your strength levels, if you're then not able to disrupt the musculature appropriately with 2 sets, something, I don't know. I think that it would be a better idea to continue practicing on recruiting those motor units and getting the most out of these 2 sets instead of adding things.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you think you've got quality there and you then add it's like actually you don't have quality there yet. You need to just focus on getting the most out of that short amount of work that you've got. But it's weird. I don't know if this is the same for you, but quads definitely just can handle quite a lot more.
No, absolutely.
I think it must be related to the muscle architecture to some degree. Like the eccentric loading is just, you don't get that huge stretch under load like you have on a hamstring. But like leg curls never used to get me sore, but even like 3 sets of leg curls, like seated leg curls, I can get sore from that now, which is just, I think I'm just getting better at recruiting things, like you said, and have that mind muscle connection and that intent and using the right things and not just going through the motions. So I'm excited to just take that through and forward. I'm excited also because I wonder if I'm going to get a little bit of newbie gains in my anterior delts, because I've never really done any consistent overhead pressing. Whereas now I'm programming some, which is most of it I'm doing as if it's hitting more of my upper chest than interior delt specifically.
So you're
I'm not
doing a machine-based movement?
Machine, they're all machines. I'm not doing any like dumbbell overhead pressing or barbell. That just, I don't know, just never, it always felt awful for me. And the SFR is just terrible. But some of the incline, like the plate loaded overhead press where you can kind of arch your back quite a lot, just works as a really nice incline. So I think whilst I maybe got enough anterior deltoid from my pressing to have some specificity there, especially on my physique, maybe having bigger anterior deltoids will help with that kind of illusion of more of an X frame and just give me that more capped look in terms of the shoulders. Picking those movements with great SFRs seems to be working quite well. So we just have to see. It's one of those, isn't it? It's like you're baking that cake. You don't really know what's going on in there until many kind of time down in the future when you kind of go to view it. But yeah, I'm kind of definitely embracing the improvement season now and just enjoying things. But that's why it's going to get boring talking about it, because it'll be like, more of the same, more of the same.
No, absolutely. Anything changed in terms of nutrition on your end over the past week or two?
Not really. I've been around 3,800 calories, slightly above, because during the week I basically sit at 3,800. And then on the weekend I have some meals out, which normally pushes me probably closer to 4,000 or so. My steps are normally quite high over the weekend as I'm being social and doing stuff. So went out for a really nice steak dinner with Cameron. That was awesome. Actually had there were truffle and Parmesan triple cooked chips. Unreal. They were so good. But the fillet steak was also unreal. Not 150 year aged, if anyone saw that. It was like 50 days aged. But really, really nice. And then I think me and Charlotte, we went out for like a vegan brunch or something. So that was nice. So just having a bit more flexibility still over the weekend and gaining about 1 pound per week. But I think now I'm coming to the like nearer and nearer 180. I need to start thinking about slowing it down. But I'm still focusing on like foods that are, I am actually getting a bit bloated because of focusing so much on trying to stay satiated. So I'm trying to find that balance between not feeling too hungry, but also not bloating myself out with lots of fiber and like higher volume foods, because like it's just a sticky situation to get into. I think it will gradually slow down. So I think basically I'm like a 500 calorie surplus. I need to bring that closer to 300 over the next like couple of weeks as I nearer 180, and it's just not required to gain at such a pace.
No, absolutely.
But I want to listen to myself, listen to my body, make sure I'm feeling recovered. But I just know at 180 pounds at kind of a level of body composition that I'm getting close to, that's when I start feeling pretty normal. And I don't want to shorten my window of mass gaining by just continuing to push because I'm enjoying eating food. But the thing that I'm just making sure of is it's not just highly palatable junk that I'm stuffing in, because if you do that, I can easily see why you're not feeling satiated, you're still food focused and you're wanting to eat more. But I am making sure to focus on having a big quality base at the moment, even making adjustments from where I was before, where I was like having some kids cereal here and there. I was like, no, let's switch that back to rice just to make sure that I'm not kind of setting myself up for failure. So trying to be as mature as I can, but still a bit food focused, still like easily eating 3,800 calories is not a chore for me at the moment in the slightest.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at.
Steve, so on the last note then, because I think we've touched on it slightly here in this Improvement Season podcast when it comes to just doing what it is that you have to do to achieve your goals. you don't really have a coach. So why are you then able, or how are you able to then make those decisions of not going with overly palatable things all the time? How can you stay accountable to yourself? So I kind of know the answer, but I would like you to talk it through, because so many people I find are struggling with that. They have a hard time just kind of doing what they are supposed to be doing in order to get to a desired outcome.
I wonder if part of it for me is genetic, actually. Just because it's nothing I've ever struggled with. I've always found I'd find it harder to not execute the plan than to like go into my indulgences and go off plan. I find it really hard. If I have a plan in place, I kind of really want to execute that all ends. So when it's a bit of an ambiguous plan, that's when I struggle. So that's why the post-comp phase is a little bit hard for me, because it's not something you can perfectly plan out. And I love just perfectly executing a plan. So I think part of it might be genetic. I've just always been good at just sticking things out. It's like on my post, I said, like, I'm not going to binge. I just said it like as a like black and white statement. It's just like, I just know myself well enough. I won't binge. I know for some people that might sound, I don't know, it might even sound arrogant, but it's just nothing I've ever had to deal with. And maybe it could come out of the blue, because I know for you, it kind of came out of the blue, and like it was something that you probably had in your mind, you would never binge. And then it kind of just hit you. I just like, I feel like I'm almost robotic in that sense, that wouldn't happen. I have had temptations though. And in those moments is where I just remind myself of the goal, what I want to achieve, and just take a moment. The easiest thing for me is like, just take a moment to reflect upon like, what am I trying to achieve? So I can give an example. Like last night, I'd already eaten a bunch of my calories. Charlotte was like, do you just want to get a Domino's? And I was like, fucking yes, I want to get a Domino's, but I don't have the calories for it. I don't want to adjust my calories by like 400 less the next day, because I just don't like doing that. I know that will impact me the next day and things like this. And I don't need to indulge in a Domino's. So I was just like, haven't made space for it, Charlotte. Like, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to. And it wasn't like she was like desperate for a Domino's. It's like just a takeaway. It's just, she was just been lazy, you know? But it was just like reminding myself of what my goals are and how important they are to me. And it's more important for me to stay on track for that period of time than just indulge. But I can quickly see how, and it would have been easy for me to just have gone and had the Domino's, but I can quickly see how that gets out of control.
Yeah.
Where like, like I'll just have another takeaway tonight. I'll just go over again, because in the short term, I don't think the weight gain on the scale will show that much, but it's when you start doing that. If you do it every now and then, sure. But if you're doing it every couple of days, that starts ramping up where you're gaining 1-2 pounds a week, and suddenly you've gained 10 pounds. You're like, how the fuck did that happen in like 2-3 weeks? It's because you just, every time you just let that little bit go. So I'm just good at reminding myself of keeping the goal, and knowing that the reward of that is more rewarding than just letting loose and being kind of free, as it were, for that period of time, in that short term kind of, I guess, good sensation. I think that is probably why, just reminding myself of how important my goals are to me, and will this really bring me closer to them, and how much am I going to get out of it? Because there might be chances that I am like, actually it's worth the indulgence. Maybe, for example, like this Christmas dinner at Duck and Waffle, maybe I'll be like, I'll save 2,000 calories, and I'll be like, fuck, I've gone over that. But there's this one item on the menu that me and Charlotte really want to try. Am I going to indulge in it? Maybe I will in that occasion where I'm just like, fuck it, this is not once in a lifetime, but it's very rare that I'll do this. Maybe I'll do it. But for like a takeaway, or for a bit more of like another cookie or something, I don't need it. I'm happy to just keep the goal. I don't know if that's the answer you assumed.
No, absolutely. It was perfect, to be honest. I mean, there's always so much more nuance to it, and couldn't really go down the rabbit hole. And then also you brought up genetics, right? Also talking about genetics in the sense of like what a physiological response you have to overeating or to certain palatable things. I think that if you I don't think that many people think about it too much, because every individual is living in their own bubble. So what I mean by that is, you assume that the way that you perceive the world that you are seeing the world is also the way that other people are seeing the world, because you don't know any differently, right? Is red, for example, the same as for you as I see the red, or is it kind of differently? But we can't really compare those two with another or ever find out. Also there, physiologically speaking, it could be that there's a cascade of hormonal responses and physiological responses happening inside of you due to certain foods that trigger you. That is something that makes it way harder for X individual to then stop eating than for someone else. And that's why I also think that the discussion about just eat less and move more, or binging or being obese or so is not a genetic trait is, I don't know if it's justified, because I think that we simply don't know enough as of yet to make that clear distinction. And there could definitely be something that for some individuals, it's simply way, way harder to stay away from certain foods than it is for others again, right? But yeah, your answer, I think, was very good already. And I'm also certain that nearly everyone can get to that point. It just requires a little bit more attention for some than it does for others.
And I think the more people we work with, the more appreciation I have for that fact. Because I definitely see people who clearly are giving it their all and they're still struggling. And I'm someone, I think, also lucky. I have a high maintenance, so that's also genetic, I think, in terms of like, I have a spendthrift. Is that right? Spendthrift? Yeah, spendthrift metabolism, I think is the word, where you give me more food, I burn more food. Whereas some people, and I think more like yourself, and I definitely have clients like this, you give them a bit more, they absorb it all. They take every little bit, more of a thrifty metabolism. So that also helps me, because no matter ever, like, it's like for like, my hunger might be on a level to yours, but just the fact I get to eat so much more makes it far easier, I think, than for other people, where it's like a smaller female might have a maintenance of 2,000 calories. She wants to go out for a meal to be like social and flexible. Half of her intake's gone. Yeah. So it's budgeting then for that. It's challenging. Anyway, that's a discussion in its own right. So I very much agree with your comments.
No, absolutely. Then, Steve, I wish you a lovely Christmas period then. We will be talking next week, I assume, anyway. Or are you doing a coaching corner so that I can take the week off? I don't know. We will discuss things.
Yes.
But guys,
depends who's free.
Yeah. Hopefully you had a lovely Christmas period by the time that you're listening to that. Hopefully you didn't overindulge yourself, but you switched off enough so that you were able to be a little bit flexible and you were able to enjoy it without too much of a deviation. Thank you very much for always tuning in, always listening. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Put a comment in the comment section below. Questions or what?
Spotify. You can now easily rate us. So I put this on my story yesterday. We've already got like over 55-star ratings, which is amazing. So I should have said this sooner in this episode. Maybe I'll probably say it at the start in an intro somewhere. Just to remind you, it takes us a millisecond. Just rate us out of 5. Boosh, you're done. Just help spread the awareness of the podcast. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad they've done that.
Perfect. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I guess I'll speak to you very soon. Cheers.
So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people, but each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics. Discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge, and I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.